Lizzie B here. I'm making this video today because I got a few comments from you guys asking me to talk a little bit more about the Keego Harbor triple homicide suicide. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today. And I also wanted to talk about suicide in general and how it relates to the Jehovah's Witness religion, and how, you know, the organization does kind of send its members subliminal messages that creates feelings of devaluing life itself, you know, their lives and the lives of others. So yeah, a lot to talk about today, but first let me talk about the Keego Harbor, you know, homicide suicide. The woman who I referred to in the last video that I did, her name was Lauren Stewart. She was 45 years old. She was married. She had 2 kids, and she'd been a Jehovah's Witness, but you know, the moment that she decided that she wanted to send her kids to college, that caused a lot of problems for her within the congregation, and she left the organization. For those of us who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we all know that, you know, college is frowned upon. You know, you don't go to college. You're not supposed to invest in yourself in this world that we live in. I don't know if that was the only reason, because I saw in the articles that it said that Lauren had some doctrinal issues or something. And so I'm thinking maybe there were some other things, but either way, she left the organization. And everything looked like she was kind of moving on with her life. She was pursuing a career in modeling. You know, her kids had successfully gone to college. Her husband was, you know, working on some big project with his company. And things from the outside looked like she was doing pretty well. But her friend Joyce Taylor, I believe her name is, Joyce has been really verbal, and so she's been talking to media outlets. She even actually went to the congregation that that Lauren had gone to, and she kind of like shamed the congregation and let them know, like, you guys shunning Lauren has led to her death and the death of her family as well. Joyce was an ex-Jehovah's Witness. I believe that she also went to the same congregation that Lauren did. And so Joyce was also being shunned as well. So what Joyce is saying is that, you know, had she not been shunned, she probably would not have been depressed and therefore committed these murders and killed herself as well. And so I'm with Joyce, to be honest with you. I strongly believe that, you know, the shunning probably did traumatize her and did kind of create the psychological situation that would make her resort to such extreme measures in order to deal with her depression. You know, I believe that, and I'll get into a little bit of why I believe that, but my heart really goes out to, I guess, the extended family of Lauren, and I really hope that that congregation, as well as Jehovah's Witnesses all over the world, can, you know, learn from this situation about how traumatic shunning is. It's awful. It's terrible. No Christian should be doing something like that. You know, it's just a terrible thing to do. If you want more information about Lauren Stewart and what happened with her, I put some links below. Check them out. I'm sure you'll get way more information than what I'm able to tell you in this video. But, you know, the only thing I can say is that it's just a tragic situation, and it didn't have to happen. Nobody should get to the point where they feel like they have to take their own lives or the lives of others. You know what I mean? So I do want to talk a little bit about suicide. I think that there's so many things that the organization kind of does that devalues life, that lets people know that their life is not worth anything. And you know, I talked a little bit about this with the video that I did before this one. But, you know, I really want to talk about suicide a little bit more, because I do think that, you know, there's a lot of things that are kind of subliminally hidden in the messages that Jehovah's Witness organization sends to its members that kind of creates this environment where people really don't value life. And I know, because it took me leaving and then waking up to kind of realize that I really didn't really value mine. I would constantly say, oh, I'm not afraid of death, and, you know, whatever. You know, that like I was very nonchalant about things that I don't think I should have been nonchalant about. And so, you know, I'm going to give you 3 ways in which there are subliminal messages that are being fed to Jehovah's Witnesses that let them know that their life and the life of others is not valuable. The first message is the world is bad. Well, that's one thing that I've seen throughout all of my years being a Jehovah's Witness is the world is terrible. It's never been worse. You know, it's just, you can tell we're in the end. Everything's awful. This wicked system, like there's so many colloquialisms that they use that emphasizes how terrible the world is. Satan's world, blah, blah, blah. And so I personally think that this is a really effective strategy to use. I'll give you an example. I come from a news background. One old saying from news is, if it bleeds, it leads. And what this means is that if death is involved, if something is just terrible or tragic or horrible, that's the first thing that you're going to see when it comes to news, because they know that that's where they get the most viewership. More people are going to tune in if there's something tragic that's happened. And that's because they're kind of playing on human instinct as well as animal instinct to pay attention to something that is dangerous, to remember something that is dangerous. And this is kind of a survival thing. This is primitive, because our ancient ancestors had to remember what berries to not eat, what animals to not be around, certain things like that, so that we could preserve ourselves. And so it was important to remember these things, to have these things in the forefront of your mind, because danger was all around you. That's why we exist, is because our ancient ancestors remembered what was dangerous and they stayed away from those things. And those things were always kind of in the forefront of their mind. So we still kind of hold on to that. And if something is dangerous, if someone says bad news, we remember that. That is the thing that we remember. And so news kind of played off of that. We have this thing in news called Sweeps Week. And this would happen like 4 times a year, where they would collect all the ratings from each news station. And during Sweeps Week, you always heard the worst story. Like, you know, every story was terrible. How popcorn could kill you coming up next, you know. And we would be eating popcorn and putting these stories out on the air, because, you know, we knew that you would get you needed the most viewers during Sweeps Week. You need viewers anyway, but you know, if you're collecting your ratings, you want to have the highest ratings. And so the worst stories they could possibly put out there, the better. And so Jehovah's Witnesses kind of utilized that same strategy in terms of kind of getting the attention, getting the collective attention of millions of people by really emphasizing that the world is terrible, the world is bad. Now, how this ties in to, you know, the idea of devaluing life is that there's a lot of talk about how wonderful the paradise is, you know. So you have people who are living in a world that's wicked and terrible and awful, but they're waiting for the new world. And if you're sitting around waiting, that means you're wasting your life. That means you don't value it. So I remember when I was little, I don't know if I asked my mom this, but I used to think this all the time. Why don't we just kill ourselves and just get to the new system already? Why do we have to be in this wicked world? Why do we have to be in this wicked system? And so, you know, there's a lot of people that still think that. They grow up and they think that. I'm sure many of you who are watching this video have thought that before. Like, why not just skip this and get on to the paradise, you know? It's a subliminal message in a sense. If you're telling people that this world is awful, and after you die, if you've been faithful to God, you can just be in a paradise, you're gonna have a lot of people killing themselves. And, you know, I don't think that I ever asked my mom, why don't we just kill ourselves? But I would ask her a few times. I had asked her as a child, you know, what's the penalty for killing oneself? You know, does God forgive us for killing ourselves? Because I wanted to be sure, in case I decided to end this whole, see, and this is horrible. Think about this. I was a child asking these questions, that, you know, wanting to be sure that if I killed myself, that I would make it to the new system, that God would forgive me enough to allow me in because I was faithful. So these are the subliminal messages that I got on the basis of what the Watchtower is telling us, and the talks that we were given, and even the things that we were saying to people when we went to door. I was getting the message that this life was something that we need to hurry up and get through so that we can get to the paradise. I strongly believe that I was not the only one getting that subliminal message. And when I see people killing themselves, I think about that. before I move on, I do want to also say that the world has been worse. The world has been way worse. We're living in some of the best times that this world has had to offer. I am thankful that I live in the times that I live in right now. I'm so happy that I wasn't around in America during slavery days. I am so happy. I'm glad I missed that. I'm happy that I am alive during a time where I'm able to do whatever job I want to do. You know, I can pursue certain careers that I probably would not have been able to pursue before. I'm happy that I live in a time where there's anesthesia, where if somebody is, you know, performing surgery on me, I don't have to bite on a stick. You know, I don't have to worry about somebody bleeding me to death because they don't know anything about modern medicine. So I'm happy about all of the advancements that mankind has made in terms of technology, socially, just in general. Like, I don't think that we've had better times. Can they be better? Of course, absolutely. Is everything perfect? Absolutely not. I hope that the future generations can do better, you know, and it seems like it's been a record and a pattern of people kind of doing better. So I'm happy about that. You know, I'm happy that I didn't live in primitive times. I'm happy to to live in this day and time. So, you know, it really is, a lot of it is a matter of perspective, and it's really important for us to be optimistic. We don't have to have rose-colored glasses on all the time, but I do think it's important to not have gloomy sunglasses either. Number two, the second thing that I believe that the organization does, that subliminally sends the message to its members that their life is not valuable, other people's lives are not valuable, is they expect people to sacrifice their lives at the drop of a hat for any cause. And this one is particularly just eerie to me. It gives me the chills, you know. I'll start by giving you guys a personal experience that I had when I was studying. I was studying with this elder's wife. She's really friendly. And, you know, but this question, I swear, it comes up so much within the organization, and I don't think people realize how creepy this question is and how just, you know, it is. But this sister had asked me, if you had to, what did she say? I'm trying to figure out how she put it, but she said if you had to deny that the Bible is God's word, or something like that, deny the Bible pretty much, or die, which one would you do? Now, she asked me this question while we were like studying. I was studying, you know, I was studying so that I can get baptized. And she had asked me this question, and I was trying to be like dead honest with her. Just like, you're not supposed to do that, I guess. I was supposed to say the noble thing, but she asked me if I was willing to deny the Bible or die. And I looked her dead in her eye, and I was like, I will say whatever I have to say to stay alive. You know, like, that's it, sorry, you know. And she had such disgust in her face, like she was horrified that I would say something like that. In hindsight, that's one of my proudest moments. I've said so many indoctrinated and brainwashed things over the years. Like, I'm happy that I had one moment where I said something that that I still stand by. Here's the thing, I understand that it's important to have certain values and to stand for certain beliefs. I get it. And you know, be willing to die for certain standards and values and that kind of thing. But, you know, life is valuable. Life is valuable. And I think the answer that I was supposed to say is that I would die before I denied the Bible, or, you know, I would die before I denied my belief in Christ, so on and so forth. Like, I was supposed to have said something like that. I guess at the end of the day, I think that it's creepy and scary and wrong and just backward to make people believe that they have to die over simple, stupid stuff. If somebody said, tell me 2 + 2 is 5, or I'm gonna blow your head off, 2 + 2 is 5. 2 + 2 is 5, 7 + 3 is 11, whatever you need to know. You know, like, who cares? Like, in this moment, I know 2 + 2 is 4. I know, we all know 2 + 2 is 4. But if it's life and death, that I have to say it's not, then so be it. Now, of course, contextually, everything is different. Like, you know, give me the context. and maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But my entire point is this: don't die over some stupid stuff. Be willing to stand up for something, but measure it out. You know, for me, I didn't think that was important enough to die over. But I think what the organization itself is trying to get people to get to is a point where they're willing to die for whatever the organization deems valuable. One example that I can give is that bunker video. It was very creepy. In the video, the Jehovah's Witnesses are in some kind of bunker, and you know, the elders are leading a Bible study, and some law enforcement breaks into the bunker. I think they're SWAT team or something, I don't know. And so they're, you know, they have guns, and or maybe, I don't know if they had guns in this, but either way, like, they came in and we knew they were about to kill all the friends. And so the elder kind of stands up. Like, he doesn't put his hands up, he doesn't get down on the ground. Nobody is surrendering. You know, and he kind of has this defiance about him that lets us know that he is willing to die in that moment. Like, he's making a choice. And I remember seeing that video, and I was freaked out. It gave me cold chills. And afterward, you know, they're all in paradise. So what that lets me know is that nobody tried whatsoever to save their own life. Nobody surrendered. Nobody even, you know, we don't even know why the SWAT team busted that situation up. We don't know, but we're supposed to put ourselves in their shoes and be willing to die as well. It just doesn't, to me, I just thought it was ridiculous and horrible, and it's one step closer to getting people ready to drink the kool-aid. You're letting people know that you got to be, you know, when we tell you got to be ready to die, you got to be ready to die, you know. That is a very, very scary, you know, slippery slope to tell people that they got to be ready to die on anything that the organization deems important enough for them to risk their lives over. So if that's the case, they're telling them, don't value your life. Just think about the paradise, trust that God's gonna have you in paradise, blah, 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 but don't value this life, you know, and that is dangerous. That's very, very dangerous. Heaven's Gate and Jonestown, all of those cases, people had to be ready to kill themselves and kill their family members. So Jehovah's Witnesses are kind of in that mentality as well. The fact that they're telling people to be willing to sacrifice themselves. And for this sister to ask me whether I'd be willing to deny the Bible or die, you know, it's like, is that a test? Like, is this a pop quiz? Like, I'm ready, I gotta be ready to, you know, how valuable do I see my life? Well, I'm glad in that moment I saw it as valuable, and now I see it as even more valuable. So that's the second thing. You have to be willing to end your life at the drop of a hat. You gotta be ready to give it up. You can't think about it too much, you know, you just gotta be ready to go. You gotta be ready to drink that Kool-Aid. The third way in which the organization is kind of giving a subliminal message that life is not valuable is through the teachings about Armageddon. Jehovah's Witnesses teach that the end of the world is right around the corner. Armageddon is coming, and in that day, you know, mankind is going to kind of have a reckoning with God, and Jesus is going to be killing people, and you know, everybody's gonna die. You know, everybody's gonna die except Jehovah's Witnesses, of course. And in some cases, I've heard some people say, like, those whose hearts are in the right place or something may live. From these teachings, we gather that billions of people are going to die. I don't doubt for a second that there are Jehovah's Witnesses that are going door to door, that are doing the preaching work because they believe that they are saving lives, that they are doing life-saving work, the most important work they'll ever do. But the idea of so many dead people, so many people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis just being dead, like, that is sending a message in a sense that their lives aren't valuable. It's disturbing, to say the least. And it's definitely something, like the images, if anybody has looked at a Revelation book or some of the books that have like such graphic artwork that really kind of shows people dying in these gruesome ways, you'll see the kind of mental images that Jehovah's Witnesses kind of have in their minds. I mean, personally, I had all kinds of nightmares, and I haven't had them for a while. They recently stopped too, but you know, I may have one pop up out of nowhere. These images kind of get embedded in your mind. One thing that it's kind of saying, one message that these images are sending is that these people's lives aren't worth anything. And maybe I'm the only one, so let me know in the comments if I'm the only one that feels this way. But when I would look at those pictures and seeing people running for their lives and fire coming down from the heavens and Jesus, you know, ready to kill them all, I would see myself as those people running and screaming. I didn't really see it as those people. You know, I didn't imagine that I would be somewhere safe while all that's happening. I imagined that I would be running and screaming too. Maybe that was a premonition, but I can't be the only person that had felt that way. I'm sure that current Jehovah's Witnesses looked at those pictures and may have felt the same way, that, you know, put themselves in the shoes of the people that are running and screaming. And these images are kind of letting us know that those people's lives aren't valuable. A lot of the teachings in the Jehovah's Witness literature lends itself to, if you're not doing enough field service, or if you're not attending the meetings, if you're not reading the literature, you know, that could be your fate. So it's very precarious. It's like one minute you're out in field service, and the next minute you skip a few days, you stop going to the Kingdom Hall as much, and you are dodging fireballs at Armageddon about to die because your life was just worth a few meetings that you missed. Your life is just as valuable as how many field service hours you were able to do. So that's the message that's being sent. Either life is valuable, or billions of people are going to die for some really, really shallow reasons. I listed all of these things, and that's the subliminal messages I believe that the organization is sending its members, that kind of leads them to believing that life is not very valuable. And it does not surprise me to hear about the Keego Harbor suicide. I don't know if I mentioned this in a video, but I know several people who have committed suicide. One of the situations that I know of, the person killed someone else before they killed themselves. And that's why I think it's so important to kind of talk to people and kind of, you know, speak common sense and logic and talk about things in an optimistic way, because, you know, I do want people to realize that their lives are valuable and that there's no coincidence that so many people leave and still kill themselves. Not everybody leaves and it's like, oh my God, wow, the world is just such a lovely place. You know, I had a epiphany type of moment, but that was after I woke up. You know, I left and I still had that doom and gloom over me. So it's a dangerous mindset to be in. And if you don't value life, that is very dangerous to everybody. I don't know any statistics. I didn't mention any in the video. But I do believe that that is a problem within an organization. I shouldn't know several people that have killed themselves. I should not. You know what I'm saying? The only people that I've known in life that have killed themselves had some kind of connection to Jehovah's Witnesses. Whether they were born and raised in the truth, or they were Jehovah's Witnesses, or they left the Jehovah's Witnesses. There's always something to do with that organization. And I had a lot of suicidal thoughts myself. So that's all I have to say in this video. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. And thanks for watching. Have a great day. Love yourself. Treat yourself nice. Bye.